Greetings, humanity. This is Jim, and I use he, him pronouns, and we are finally back for the second part of Still Waters Run Deep. Yay! I am so very much pleased that we are getting to finish this story off. This is being run in Rosette Diceless, a system developed by Melissa Avery Weir and Gregory Avery Weir, whom are in fact with us this evening. So we're going to be going around and doing our introductions so that we can get to all that and who we are. First of all, we'll just start with who we are and who we're playing. So first, let's go to Gregory. Hello.
Hello, I'm Gregory Avery Weir. I use they pronouns, and I am playing Agatha Grace, Miss Agatha Grace, if you please. Yes, of those Graces. I am a high school teacher, and at the moment I am trying to figure out why this supposed picnic has gone so far off the rails.
Yes, excellent. Welcome. And now, who am I? I also called you by your character name instead of your name. This is what happens when Jim has no script, kids. Kelly, hello. How's it going?
Hello. Fair warning to our viewers, we're all a little bit loopy today, it seems like.
Almost Halloween.
This is just me.
Hi, I'm Kelly. And today I'm playing Stacy, who's a lab technician at the local university. Last week, Stacy was trying to figure out why there was a surprise dead body at this picnic, and is feeling very suspicious of a research group at the university. Stacy's a local. She's kind of always lived here. She knows the town pretty well. And if you remember from last week, she just kept eating snacks. There's all kinds of snacks. She's a nervous eater.
A fine tradition that we hope will be carried on today. Of course, I am playing Dr. Adrian Orbach, who used to work at the used to teach at the university, and is now a general practitioner, and came around to just sort of snipe at people. But as it turned out, a dead body turned up, so there's stuff to be sorted out there. So that's kind of what we need to do. Also, unfortunately, Christiana, who played with us last time, could not be with us as she is overseas, I believe, right now. So she is very much missed. But we shall continue. And in the spirit of so doing, let me introduce our wondrous narrator, Melissa. Hello.
Hello. I'm Melissa Avery Weir. Co-designer, I guess, of Rosette Diceless, and welcome. So yes, this is part 2 of Still Waters Run Deep. I'm not playing a character specifically, but I'm representing the entire scenario, the adversary, as we call it, the thing that you are trying to suss out and defeat, and then various NPCs. So, shall I set the scene and we can get rolling? Okay. So, where we left off, which I don't know if everyone has seen the previous session, but if not, I guess we can link to the YouTube at some point. But in the last session, these folks, with the exception of Agatha, Miss Grace, we'll narrate in her intro. But at this Southern picnic being run by people who are funders of a research project. This research project, it's well established, is sort of leveraging people in the community, often poor people or people of color, in this very southern state, to do some sort of biomedical research. So we're at Belmont Gardens. Belmont Gardens is the home of Maverick and Anna Belmont, who are two very, very southern folks. And so once the party got got kicked off and everyone sort of got settled in and, met the people that they know, and we're feeling a little awkward because this is, you've got the CEO of major companies kind of around here. But you all are just kind of like a high school teacher or two. Anyway, so once this party gets rolling, a little bit of a kerfluffle happens, and you all learn that Leah Vipond, who's the founder of a biomedical company called Genomed, has died. She was using the restroom, answering calls on her beepers, and died of desiccation. So there's a bit of an investigation. You all were able to get access, sort of leveraging the fact that you are competent professionals, and found out that there's something in the water, some sort of chemical, and but it's also something more alive. Something is able to control the water to make it move in and out of locations. So following that, there's the people that are funding this investigation or this research are not too keen on word about this getting out. So they're sort of grudgingly allowing you access under the hopes that you can stop what's going on, but are very invested in secrecy. So did you introduce yourself yet, Jim, fully?
I said who I was playing.
Okay, good.
So yeah, I think that was about, yeah.
Cool. So Adrian went down into the basement, discovered that there is a pool of water that moved. It manipulated itself, seemingly itself. And so we have a sample of that on hand. So where we're sitting now, where we kind of froze frame last time, was the police have arrived. They were called to kind of help with the investigation. They were called by, I believe, Dylan Van Horn, who is another rich agriculturalist from a nearby county who has a similar style home, but is also a major funder of the project. So cops are here. They have not come inside yet. And you all have had access to the body, access to the basement. But there's also definitely a sense of impatience here, like, kind of hurry up and get this taken care of. Why is this such a problem? So we are in what Rosette Diceless calls conflict, which is, you sort of, if you have played other role-playing systems, this is sort of a combat type of thing. So we have people in initiative order with some swapping out because, hello, Gregory. And conflicts have goals and they have consequences. So the goal is what happens if the adversary is given enough stress that it is incapacitated. And the goal of this that y'all decided was to stop the killings, and bring whoever is responsible to justice. And the consequence, if you fail, which means that all of you are incapacitated, is a consequence of significant scandal. Each of you have secrets. Each of you have something in your backgrounds that will be dredged up and exposed. So significant disgrace for each of you. So I don't have to explain a lot about the system for Gregory. So let's start. I have put Agatha Grace at the top of the initiative order because we need to get Grace on scene, Agatha in scene. So let's go for, okay.
Agatha and Grace.
Yeah. There are no afflictions. So the adversary has no afflictions that can be targeted at the moment, just to make that clear.
So Stacy are you still in the parlor area? Like in the front area?
Yeah.
I think we're all kind of like outside of that bathroom.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
So I'm guessing kind of like in the hall rather than like in the parlor.
And what's the doctor's name?
Adrian.
Adrian is back from the basement.
Yeah, just came up from the basement.
Okay.
I think I'm just going to say I haven't told anyone what I found down there yet.
Oh, okay.
So
that way we can do it in game.
You both probably hear outside. I think the cops are starting to mill around, and you hear kind of some raised voices, and then you hear, "Excuse me, do you know who I am? I am Miss Agatha Grace. I am a good friend of the Belmonts and of your father, son. So I believe that if we want everything to go smoothly here, you should let me in and allow me to console my dear friend." And then an older woman bustles in. She is dressed like a Southern school teacher of the previous era, maybe of a decade out of date in fashion, and she like stops several steps inside of the front door and like scans the surroundings and looks for the person who seems most likely to be in charge of medical stuff, like not necessarily the Belmonts, but like someone who looks medically or science-y.
Yeah, so you'll see, I mean, I don't know if Stacy would be this person, but you'll see her, she's soaking wet, but carrying her like discombobulated kit. So
I think Stacy's more obviously sciencey looking right now than I am. I've got a little flashlight in my hand. That's it. That's all probably.
All right. Agatha's nose lifts a bit, seeing Stacy. Are there any other NPCs around?
I think Van Horn is still there. So this is Dylan Van Horn. And I think Anna Belmont is probably still milling around.
Yes, I believe she had just been told off.
Yes.
Shortly before by Stacy, who shut her down when she tried to get us all to leave.
Yes. Like, oh, we'll get the cops to take care of it. And y'all were like, we are the cops. So maybe that's the idea.
Then Agatha stomps over to Belmont, to Anne Belmont, and says, Anna, has your little project finally caused enough trouble that the authorities have to be involved? That's rather scandalous, I have to say.
It's not, the authorities will take care of things.
Oh, are they finally going to take care of things? Because I believe that previously there's been cause for such things. Why don't you share with me the full details of what's been going on? Not just today, but previously. This is a charm attack. I'm boosting with extra empathetic, which lets me be always boosted to discover falsehood. So that's a 6 versus nerve? Probably nerve. Just basically, what's this all about?
Let's see.
Oh, with an edge of...
Oh, man.
Obligation. I'm a guest at her house. No, I'm not. I need to... I'm obligated to her. Boy. Sure, I'll toss useful trait on there.
Oh, from the extra empathetic?
Yeah.
Okay. Then I will... Let's see. Can I boost my way out of that? No. Okay. So the total was a 6?
Yes.
Okay.
Not bold. So
not
it won't cause wear. Yeah, because it's an always boosted, so that doesn't cause wear.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to take an affliction here. And let's take the affliction. What's a good term for like someone who's been exposed like socially? Like someone whose dirty laundry has been aired or is being aired.
I mean,
I guess the aired dirty laundry.
Exposed.
Vulnerability or something, maybe?
Yeah.
Like she's emotionally vulnerable.
Embarrassed.
Embarrassed.
Yeah, I'll go with embarrassed. And
thank you, Jim, for coming in with the obvious solution that we all just
Hey, it had to happen sooner or later.
So she says, well, it's just one incident. There's nothing, it's just this here, the party can go on. Everyone else is safe. This was just, a one-off here. It's not something that's been happening here. So
you're saying that none of the other deaths associated with this project are related to this one?
Of course, well, I'm saying that,
elocution, Anne. I know you've been better raised than this.
Dr. Holland's death was an accident in the laboratory. It's different. That was safety standards. We've taken steps to improve that, I believe. So I've been told.
It looks as if your plumbing perhaps should be subject to the same safety standards.
It's an old house. It's a very old house. You know how it is. And you know how.
I'm afraid I don't. The Grace house has always had well-maintained plumbing.
Well, such as it is, I'm aware that you've modernized quite a lot, right? You've lost the classic charm that our house has.
Yes, as well as several classic aromas that your house retains.
Why are you here?
That's what I'm wondering, Anna. I thought that we were invited here to celebrate your project, and instead it seems as if we are seeing yet another failure of leadership.
There are no failures of leadership here. This is my house. You are invited to my house.
And you are not even in charge of your own house then?
A plumbing accident, it's going to be fixed. Plumbing goes awry.
Why don't you fetch someone who knows what's going on with this project so that we can make sure that there are no accidents that occur henceforth?
She takes the glass of water she's holding and she sets it firmly down next to the telephone that Van Horn is standing at. And she says, I'm going to go fetch something. And she turns and leaves.
Byron? Miss Johnson?
Stacy, you are up.
Dang, that was fun to watch. Stacy is very familiar with the classic Southern charm. So while this was happening, she took a granola bar out of her bag and was just like popcorn. And so she's kind of like but she's on a mission she has this sample of this drug substance that was found in the toilet.
Yes. Yep.
And so she has a sinking suspicion that it's something going on with this drug research that was somehow related to this very strange death.
Mm-hmm.
And so after she kind of shakes off her like, dang, she is going to march up to Van Horn.
All right.
Because he is the closest authority figure on the research that would know about what's going on with the research project that she's aware of.
Okay.
So she's assuming that like he's supposed to be like a benefactor of the project, right? Like he's an investor.
Yes, definitely an investor.
So she's going to assume that he probably knows what's going on.
Yeah. Okay. By the way, as Anna Belmont left, Delia, who is one of the housekeepers who's kind of been ushering you around a little bit, sweeps in, grabs up the glass, wipes the wood underneath, and is going to drift back out of the room, the glass that Belmont left behind.
Thank you, dear.
All right, so Van Horn is looking uncomfortable. Yeah, just generally uncomfortable. He says, well, I'd say Southern women still have their teeth.
Some of us do.
And so Stacy's going to, with her distinct life choice of not having classic Southern charm. It's her version of rebellious, basically. She's just gonna like march straight up to him, and if is he still on the phone?
No,
not anymore.
Mm-mm.
She was gonna take that phone out of his hand.
Oh, well, so the cop's already here, which is who he was on the phone with last. Yeah.
Well, she's gonna march up to him, and if there's like a runner table, like something, and that she can like slam her like kit down on, kind of right near him.
Yep.
She's going to do that, and look him straight in the eye and say, "Mr. Van Horn, I believe that we both know that this death may have been inspired by your research project." She's like bullshitting him, pretending that she knows what's going on. And she's like, "I managed to get a sample of a certain substance out of that crime scene. And I think we both know what's happening here." So she's kind of trying to get him to like give something away by pretending that she knows what's going on.
Yeah. All right. So that sounds like probably a charm attack.
I think so.
Except, so you have not so empathetic.
Yeah.
Which means you can't boost to discover falsehoods or evaluate moods. And I think this is an attempt to discover falsehoods.
Could just be intimidation or socializing. Yeah. I don't know.
That's true. Okay. We can roll with it. So you can boost by adding in a tie, a skill, or a quirk, or a relevant trait.
So we were thinking, so what kind of attack then would this be? It's still a charm attack?
Probably. This sounds like if you're wanting to kind of intimidate and like fake out, then
yeah,
that's going to be more charm based.
Could I use her? I can't say this word. Jacuz.
That will give you an edge, which will do an extra point of stress. And
then trying to think. I don't really know if any of her quirks or skills or anything really apply, but my charm is not good, so let's see what I can come up with.
Remember that you can introduce or deny a quirk if you want to make it be useful.
Yeah. So you've got detail focused and day one OSHA fan.
I feel like detail focused might work here because she does know like a lot of details about the thing, and so she's really focused on like anything he says that's going to give her a little bit more information.
Okay, so let's role play that, right? So you've got so he's standing there, you're like there's something going on with this, like we know there's something in the water. Let's bring detail focused into that. Like how does that change how you're asking the question and how you're posing it?
So she'll say something like, I just changed my mind. Instead, sorry. So the skills also boost, correct?
Yes.
She's going to use her like chemistry skill here and go into like, she's like, I found this drug, and she goes into listing all of these qualities about this compound that she found to kind of show him that she has done like her research and she knows what's going on, and she's going to list like these different, I don't know what kind of property she was able to discover with her kit, but kind of go into this like, she's like, and I found your drug, and it's very clear that it is like this, and it has this quality and this property, and I think we both know what that means.
Which is some bullshit, because that's fine. All right. So that makes your charm a 4, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this sort of blustering attempt.
Yes. Blustering is an accurate question.
It's probably an attack on nerve, which will be boosted with, let's see, we're going to defend with their inhumane skill. Yeah. Okay. So he says, this sounds like a lot of scientific mumbo jumbo. It's not really my concern, you understand. We have a research project. It's one of many that I fund. I'm a patron of the sciences. We are in the business of improving humanity and finding what improves life, all of our lives, the important lives, you understand. So if you want to join the research project, I'm sure we could get you hired as, janitor or something. But unless you actually have something that will stop the funders of this research project from dying, then perhaps you could move along. And so he used his inhumane skill to block that. And he steps around you, and you've put that lab case down, which like tipped the phone over, and like this poor little telephone table has really gotten it. And he just kind of like very calmly steps around you and heads over to the door, swings it open, and says, please come in, officers. There's something tragic for you to investigate. All right.
And Stacy thought she was coming off very intimidating, and she looks down and she realized she's still like soaking wet. And
Agatha offers her a handkerchief.
Oh God.
And she kind of takes it and at least like gets probably the like runny mascara off of her face, so that she looks a little bit less drowned rat-like, and then hands it back.
It's good to see that you are making use of your studies, Miss Johnson.
Sorry, my dog is growling at the neighbors.
Your dog is adorable.
You want to say something? Sorry, go ahead.
And she's just gonna like nod and be like, "Of course, I am."
All right. So it is someone else's turn. So we are going to do, where are their numbers? There we go. Okay, so you hear, all of you hear, scream, high-pitched, somehow Southern accented scream.
Oh my!
My heavens.
And it's cut off. The scream is incomplete. And there's a cat scratching, sorry. It's coming from the kitchen. So in case you don't quite remember the layout of this house, which is totally understandable, so there's this foyer that you all have kind of been near, where people have been coming in and out of the house. Near there is where the bathrooms are. So these are kind of the publicly accessible, quote unquote, bathrooms. Going past that is where you get into the kitchen, access to the basement, things like that. So when Belmont left, she went to the kitchen. And what you're hearing is a scream, a cutoff scream from in there. So this is a crisis attack, which means screams in Southern. This is a crisis attack. And is essentially an attack in which all of you are let me describe this better. It's an attack that all of you are reacting to. So you can keep doing what you're doing, you can ignore it, you can respond to it, but it is moving the conflict towards a conclusion.
I think I was just heading up to the two of them. I was getting ready to. I forget. Did I get a sample when I was down there?
Yes,
Okay.
You did collect some of the water.
I was getting ready to reach into my pocket to show you folks something as I was coming. So Adrian was getting ready to show you something, and then there's a scream. He's like, maybe I better check that out first. So I think Adrian, and so that's how Adrian reacts immediately. I need to figure out how I'm going to react to the crisis attack.
Okay, so the number is an 8. It is boosted but not bold. So you're not going to take wear if you can block it. But it is an 8 with an edge of credible threat. Oh, nope, wrong one. That's for charm. I think an edge of drama is applicable here.
What's it boosted with?
Oh, it is always boosted. It is. There's a trait.
But what? Oh, we don't get to find out what?
Secret? No, I don't have a name for that. I should have come up with a clever name for that trait. I did not. But it is always boosted to do the thing it does.
Thing doing. Okay.
Yes. So, yes, you have probably, so Adrian has probably actually just come out of the kitchen, right? Like y'all passed each other, like, aha, and then wait, scream behind you. So
I'm just going to turn around and go look if I can, unless I have to react immediately.
Nope. Yeah, you can turn right back around, kick open the kitchen door, and and Anna, based on clothing, is collapsed in front of the sink on the floor in a pile of mostly dust. Hair.
Any sentence that starts this character based on clothing, can't be good.
Yeah, that's fair.
According to dental records.
Oh, hell.
So do we all have to respond to this somehow then?
Yes, you can pick what defense applies. So if you are, if this is intimidating for you, if this is sort of compelling you to like give up or to I guess to intimidate or something like that, it could be nerve. If it's sort of a more of a challenge or more of a something intellectual, then it can be against your wits. If it feels more physical, like you have some sort of, I don't know that vigor would particularly apply here. Yeah, I'm not sure how vigor would apply, but
I think Stacy hasn't been particularly nothing's particularly making her afraid yet. Like she's very interested in the puzzle happening here. She's very analytical. So for her, this is more like a mental challenge. She's like, again before, like she's frustrated that it's happening again before she was able to figure it out.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say it was like a mind attack probably, or a wits attack for her.
Okay. Is she able to block it? You have to get up to 9.
I don't think there's anything that I could have done. She doesn't have the setup for me to beat that at all, I don't think.
That's true. Okay.
I don't think it's possible in any attack form.
Okay. So you will either take 2 stress or a stress and an affliction.
And can you remind me and chat about stress again?
What?
Like we have so many.
Oh, okay. So you have 3 condition boxes. Stress represents anything from emotional hardship to physical damage to kind of whatever that's why it's stress instead of like hit points or whatever. And so you have 3 stress boxes, but you also have 3 afflictions that you can take. And an affliction reduces the amount of stress you take by 1. It is something that is a weakness, becomes a weakness of your character that can be targeted by the adversary. So if you have your cold and wet and miserable. So I could use, any of my characters could target that.
I think she is going to take an affliction of something like thinking something like frustrated, where she's like going to start making kind of bad, like spontaneous choices, like less thought through, because she's really frustrated about the situation. Does that work?
That works.
So then also take a stress, and I'll have the affliction of frustrated.
All right. Write that down.
There's no way that I can hit a 9 with any defenses. And so Agatha rushes into the kitchen, sees the body and says, "Oh my goodness, people are actually dying," and sort of backs away from it and backs into a table and trips over a chair and overturns a platter of
biscuits. Probably they just made a bunch of those.
No, it needs to stain.
Oh, okay.
So she is just kind of falls onto the floor. She doesn't faint. She just stumbles onto the floor, is coated in, one shoulder has potato salad on it that she's brushing off very, very efficiently. So I took a point of stress and the affliction disheveled. So I'm now mortified and disheveled.
Bad day.
All right. My reaction, since I also cannot hit a 9, is I'm just going to actually grab the other 2 of them as they're heading in, just sort of pull them into the corner, and just sort of
knocking me into a chair in the front.
Just sort of like we got a serious problem here, and This is when I'm going to show them the vial.
And you are, sir?
Dr. Adrian Orbach, pleased to meet you. Former university professor, now terrified doctor. What I will say is I'm taking a stress and I'm taking the condition, the affliction. It's hunting us.
And it's you're up next, so yeah. Perfect.
and so as I sort of pull them aside and I take out a vial, and I just sort of show it to them, and it looks like it's a vial of water.
Is that going to help a turned ankle, or is that club soda?
I put my hand.
Shawl has been in the family for generations.
I put my hand up right next to the vial and see if the water reacts the way that it was reacting before. Does it kind of move away?
What are you poking against it?
It was moving away from me before, so I'm putting my hand like right next to the glass, just like.
It is inert.
It is inert. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So downstairs, I found some of this water dripping from a pipe. As I was attempting to collect it, it moved away.
You observed water flowing?
In the wrong direction. Normally it follows the flow of gravity, does it not?
But it ran from you like it's sentient?
It seemed to react negatively to my presence.
Like opposing magnetic poles.
Not unlike that, yeah. And so there's something in the waterworks of this building that is... I don't know what it is, but it's causing the water to behave like this, and apparently it's also able to pull it out of people.
Or perhaps all of the water in Anna's body decided that it did not care for Anna, which I do not blame it.
My God.
Dead.
All right, look, we gotta... All right, we're running out of time here. We got to do something. And I assume that since there was a scream, this room is now swarming with cops.
The cops are following you in because they were in the front room or heading. They were at the front door.
Okay.
So yes, very shortly.
So we beat them there.
We beat them there.
Yeah, we beat them there, but I mean, it's.
But they are now.
I'm not going to try. I'm not going to stop them or anything.
Yeah, they are now. They are now moving into the kitchen.
However, a quick question. Was how old approximately was Van Horn? Is Van Horn?
Pappy Van Horn is probably in his 50s.
Okay, and okay.
Sounds like the bourbon.
And the Belmonts, how old are / were the Belmonts?
The Belmonts would be also
roughly same
40s and 50s. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Good. All right.
You work at the university? No, you were former university.
Yes,
that's right.
And
okay.
I think I am actually about to use my secret.
Ooh. Uh-oh.
Yes. And quick question again. What can we attack right now?
Available to you is the adversary, which is it a reveal to say who the adversary is?
Yes. I don't want to know.
Okay. The adversary. And the water entity.
Okay. So I guess then I can be attacking the adversary when I go in to talk to when I go over to Van Horn, who I presume might actually have some. See, I was trying to figure out who of the either now. Well, I guess where some suspects are narrowing down. But I figure either Maverick Belmont.
Upset kitchen staff in here.
I'm sorry, yeah. I was figuring either Maverick Belmont or Dylan Van Horn. Of those two, who do I think is more likely to know something about what this thing might be?
More likely Maverick, I think.
Okay.
But I mean, Van Horn is not. He's not a technical person, like in the. Well, I mean, he is a person, but is not a scientific person in jargon. So
I'm going to turn around. I'm going to go. I'm going to head directly toward where I believe Maverick to be.
All right. You can essentially follow a kitchen staff member who is like running to his office, which is on the same floor. Swing open the door, Mr. Belmont, your wife, she's
I'll take care of it. I've done this before. Listen, and I just basically, because I see that this is so as I didn't, Mr. Belmont, I'm very sorry to tell you that the entity that is here, or that is working against us here, has taken your wife.
What are you talking about?
She is now like the other.
Are you?
She's
You're saying
killed.
She's dead?
Yes.
He gets up and heads immediately.
Now listen, but you have to listen to me. This is something we need to know what it is that is happening here as much as we can. And listen, I know, and this is presumably the other two of you can hear this as I'm saying this to him, and as I'm unloading my secret. And listen, I know that you may not trust us, me in particular, because I failed your son, and because I gave a D to to Van Horn's nephew, and that's why the board no longer seemed to like me after that.
Failed as in.
But this is no failed as in. But and I understand what you feel that might do to your reputation, but right now this is a life and death situation. We cannot have anyone else die. Tell us what you know.
All right.
That was basically my secret.
When you reveal a secret, it is an automatic success with an edge that is unblockable. So, he says, his eyes fill with tears, and he says, you are a shameless hack for this research project. It's taking too much. What if my daughter is next?
That's why we have to stop it. Now, what can we do to fight this? It's coming after us right now.
Check. I don't know let me get a name real quick. Talk to Dr. Nevin. He might know how to track it down. You just don't say anything to the public. You understand? Don't let their deaths be tarnished.
Well, my main concern is keeping everyone alive, but if I can, I will try to keep this as contained as possible, both physically and socially. This is not the kind of thing anyone wants to hear about.
Dr. Nevin will know more technical details, but if it's here in the house, I mean, the basement is probably, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's in the water system, right?
Yeah, I went down there for a moment. The water seemed to be pulling away from me when I tried to collect a sample.
This is too much. I have to go. I have to go see her.
All right.
And he shoves past. So, the adversary, the primary adversary, is no longer in play. You have a creature still in play. So that is who is able to be targeted.
Is it pulling back, or is it all out of boxes?
It is out of boxes. Next up is Agatha. So I'll say Belmont rushes into the kitchen, kneels down next to his wife, totally just breaks down into sobs. There's he's breaking down sobs. There's staff person kind of trying to like get him off. The cops are kind of also in a bit of a tizzy, trying to get at her, but also not elbow this rich ass man in the face. So, Agatha.
Well, this could hardly be some sort of supernatural occurrence. It seems likely that whatever they're doing has somehow affected the behavior, maybe infected the water, I assume. I'm not the scientist that you are, Miss Johnson, but perhaps I can get a feeling for its behavior. I'll make sure to stay away from any faucets, but I'm going to see if I can figure out what this thing is.
All right.
And I'm going to go down into the basement. And I am going to after probably shed my messy shawl, but I'm still my clothing's torn and I've got some stains elsewhere.
Potato salad. God.
But I'm going to very, actually not at all gracefully, I'm going to kind of drop to one knee and almost, catch my skirt under a shoe and have to pull it up and hunker down, and then go to wherever there's water dripping or anything, and just kind of be like, and is there some sort of maybe nematode? And just sort of try and find this, what I'm assuming to be a critter, and draw it out. So that's, I guess, a charm attack with animal magnet. And boy, I don't know that I have an edge for this.
Okay, so I'm trying to think if animal magnet applies. Let's see, what is?
It would apply if it's a non-sapient being.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's 3 if it's sapient, 6 if it's not sapient.
It's okay.
Or I'm sorry. 3
Yeah.
if 3 if it's sapient, 6 if it's not sapient. And maybe I'll actually, I have a copy of Macbeth in my bag, that I am going to open up and use to try and collect a larger sample of the water. So I will sacrifice that resource.
Oh my god.
So
Is
that's boosted regardless with an edge. So bold 6. With an edge of this I'm trying to saturate this book with whatever it is. in an attempt to like keep it separate from my hands.
Okay.
Come right back around to out damn spot.
All right. Well, so a 6.
Which I guess is versus nerve? I guess I'm coaxing, so nerve.
Yeah. I don't think. And then we need to fix something after this. That's nerve. I think, yes. So. It's going to. So you're essentially. Where are you putting the Macbeth to try to soak up water?
I'm looking for something somewhere that it's dripping or leaking, and I guess if necessary, I will, despite my earlier statement, like try and open a valve or something a little bit. But stay as distant as I can.
Yeah, it is quite damp down here, so there's lots of little places to do it. So it is going to use its evasion skill, which I can never remember the key press for that. So I'm just going to change the color of the text. It's going to use its evasion skill, and you as you reach the book towards something, you see some water. You see the water kind of pull away a little bit, and when it does so, it's able to join kind of a larger puddle, at which point it doesn't seem to be reacting anymore. Like you can put your book in that water, and you soak up some water, but there's nothing interesting about it.
Doctor, it seems as if you weren't imagining the movement.
So let's fix something. I made a rules mistake. Look, it happens. The water creature, since it is an expert, it could not have attacked all of you at the same time. It could only have attacked one of you. So it's my bad, which means that all of y'all took a stress and an affliction when only one of you needed to take a stress and an affliction. So the question is, who were they targeting?
I mean, if it's split, then it could have done 1 point to 2 of us. Because it had an edge, right?
It had an edge. Okay. So the question is who?
I figure since I went down in the basement, it's probably seen me already, so I'll go ahead and be a target of one of them.
Okay.
If not both.
And then
I can't take back the potato salad.
Yeah, I was about to say the potato salad has to stay in play.
the potato salad. Okay, that works. Okay, so
Don't take back the potato salad.
That means Stacy is no longer frustrated, and no longer has that second stress box, or whatever. If you had 1 or 2. So is Adrian keeping? It's hunting us.
Oh yes, that's. Okay. I have to keep that.
And disheveled, or potato salad. Just call it potato salad.
Adrian would get back a point of stress.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry about that. It's one of those things where the rules changed several times over the course of developing the system, and every once in a while, my brain falls back to an earlier version. Okay. So, yes, you have a wet Macbeth book. Congratulations. Stacy. At this point, okay, so let's set the scene. We have...
Oh, actually, so I sacked that, right? So it hit? Is that right?
Oh, does it auto-hit?
I forget whether... I'm going to
There's
have to check the
second
book
rule
now.
spun.
If you would like to play along at home,
I know.
These are available on Drive-Thru RPG.
Boost any challenge, gain an edge.
Okay, so no, it did not hit.
Okay, cool.
Rares are the ones that auto-succeed.
Yep. Rares are like secrets. So at this point, we have cops in the kitchen. We have a desiccated corpse in the kitchen. We have a sobbing husband in the kitchen. We have some real uncomfortable staff trying to figure out what food is safe to still take outside because now there's people dust.
None of it. There's people dust and a shawl. Don't serve any of this.
Look, 5-second rule. Also, it's 1971.
The shawl is considerably older than 5 seconds.
Basement is available. It's damp. Dank.
I actually think that like Stacy has not had a lot of success with like interpersonal things today. She keeps having to stress eat every time she talks to someone, so she's gonna stick with what she knows. And I imagine that she actually took that vial of water from Adrian, and she would like to investigate it.
Sounds good. All right.
Because I can still use the portable analysis kit, whatever that is, but I just don't get the bonus from it.
Right.
But I think she would use the maybe the edge of prior research.
Yep, that makes sense.
And then her detail-focused quirk.
Yeah.
Right, so that would boost it and give it an edge.
Yep. All right. So that is going to be what's the number on that? A 4?
Well, so it'd be I would be using my mind skill, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I can use either one next to it.
For an attack, you're gonna double the stat.
Just double it. Okay, so 4.
Yep. Okay. So that is a 4, and that is versus its wits. That's versus its desire, its ability to hide, essentially. Its intelligence and hiding. Which, regrettably, it's real good at. So, well, it's very skilled at. So if I boost, that's not going to raise it above a 4. So, all right. So you run your samples and that's Jackie. She's a cat. She does this all the time. You run the sample and you're able to get a really clear sample of the drug in question. Like, This isn't just like a mix of like ceramic chiseled off, right? Like, or hope of whatever the hell else is in toilet water. This is a really clean sample. In fact, it's an unusually clean sample of water. You know, the water that's been down on the basement floor should have a variety of things in it. And this isn't like RO water or anything, but it's distilled quality of water with a decent concentration of this drug in it. So you have a sample there. There's nothing like biological here. It's just, aside from the fact that drugs probably have organic components to them, but there's not like blood or anything that suggests like a creature here. It's just water and drug in this vial. So that lands with an edge. So you have details on that. That could be used. Let's see, how is that useful for you beyond just having that?
So would she, if she knows all about the drug, would she know how to like what could reverse its effects or neutralize it or something like that? Or could she take some time to figure that out? Like, maybe my next turn is kind of figuring out what that neutralization process would be or something.
Yeah. So let's say that now that you've got it, it's there are a few ways that a compound like this could be broken down. So, sometimes there's just basic stuff like, I don't know, let's throw an acid on it, right? Like, throw a base on it. It's those basic things that break down other things. And so from having the structure of this, you get this sense of like, okay, if I take some hydrogen peroxide and this kind of other thing, I could probably at least break this drug down into other constituent parts, whether that defeats this thing that's killing people or not, you at least know that you won't have that. So you have kind of also a way to break down that drug. Really? Is it back to? You went to the basement. Yeah, all right. Well, here we are again.
Any idea how this thing has been moving around? Is it some sort of collection of water creatures? Maybe some kind of eel?
Who are you asking?
Miss Johnson.
Okay.
Oh, and she's just going to reply. She's like, well, I think it's just the drug itself and the way it's interacting with the water. I don't think there's like a third. I don't think it's a thing. I think it's a interaction between this drug and the water, and it must be something like it must be moving away from something in our skin or something in the human body that it wants to repel from.
Yeah. There's something basic about... it couldn't be something like just moves away from anything carbon-based, or do you think it would be that simple, or do you think it's going to be something more specific?
Well, it didn't seem opposed to paper.
No, okay.
Or whatever mess is surely on the floor of the family name estate.
Belmont
Gardens. Estate.
Something that gets.
But it didn't move, and it didn't move when it was your finger was when the glass was between you and it.
No, it did not.
It appeared as if it lost its motility when it rejoined that larger puddle.
Lost its motility. All right.
Writes down word of the day.
I know.
Mode.
So, okay. So it's our watery friend's turn.
Hi, Greg the cat.
Hi.
Yeah, he got a treat. So Greg has come around. He's being chill. So,
Many cats.
too many cats. Please, somebody take them.
Is there such a thing as too many cats? I don't understand.
Yeah,
This is the
turns
internet.
out.
There's no such thing as too many cats.
Pictures of cats are one thing.
Oh,
Living
that's
with
true.
them motherfuckers are another. Okay, so the water creature, water entity, what? Okay. Sorry, trying to think of something interesting. Can only kill so many rich people, right? Well, I mean,
Yes.
one crowd maybe.
We'll let you know when to stop.
Okay, I think. Yeah, okay, so you've got the vial. It's in your analysis kit. Sorry, drawing a bit of a blank. Do we want to take a break?
Yeah.
Actually, that would give me a chance to regroup
Sure.
and deal with cats getting into things.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We'll go ahead and take a break for like 5-10 minutes or so, and get a chance to chill, refresh drinks, and what have you. And we shall be back shortly. So take care, folks. We'll see you in a little bit. we're back. And once again, rolling with the rest of this game. We're actually making good progress. I'm enjoying this. This is really cool.
Excellent. We are not far from having reached a hopefully successful conclusion here.
It can always go south. That wasn't a
Further
pun.
south.
That wasn't,
Wow.
No, that was not a pun. That
was-
just
Jack
real
Hughes.
no, it wasn't. It wasn't. It's not. I'm just. It can always go badly.
For shame. All right.
No, it would have been a better pun if that had been. I pride myself.
All right. So, a whole bunch of folks in the kitchen. You're up from the basement, right, Agatha?
I can be.
Or no, you're still down there. Okay.
I think
I think
you were.
when we left off, I was still down there.
I think Agatha said
no.
something to Stacy.
Yeah, no, we had a conversation, so you'd have to be
Yes.
back upstairs.
That's right. Yeah. Okay. Got it.
Okay. So now it is our water entity's turn, and above where the out of the sink, so above the kneeling down cops, and things are kind of a tizzy down there. They're prying off Mr. Belmont. Water starts to kind of rise up out of the sink,
Officers.
and it's definitely not just a spew of water, right? Like, this is a formed
Pull back.
thing, and it blasts, aiming at you, Agatha, and this is targeting your disheveled, and
It's attracted to the potato salad.
you found it.
The key is the
Mystery
potato salad.
solved.
Yes. And it is going to use, so it's already used drama.
The potato salad is perfect because I believe that's one of the things that Stacy was eating last episode.
I think so too. Or coleslaw? I think it was potato salad, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think it was potato salad because I like
She
potato
was
salad
eating
and
a
I
lot
don't
of
like
things.
coleslaw.
That is great. So it is going to use an edge of edge from inherent attack. And yeah, so it's targeting disheveled. It has an edge. It is not attempting to hurt you. It's attempting to scare you. So you're getting splashed, and there's a sense of pressure, but this isn't like a great, geyser of water coming at you. This is it's almost like you're being flicked, like you're being kind of messed with.
All right. So because it targeted my affliction, it absolutely hits. But it's got an inherent attack edge. I don't think that I'm scared. I'm extra composed. I'm very well settled. So I think I'm just going to join the drenched brigade and take a final affliction. So this thing, I'm like off, and then completely doused in this water, but just completely impassive. Like, it hits my face, it's dripping down. I'm gonna pull out an already damp handkerchief and then set it down and pull out a towel and start dabbing. Say, this is becoming a problem.
All right. And then as soon as it's made contact with you, the water just splashes. It falls as if it were just water that had strangely been in this position and is now falling with normal gravity. So by the time the cops and so on look up and are like responding to what the hell is going on, they're just getting sprinkled with water falling. Like it's strange. It's like, why is there water shooting in this direction? But they did not see the strangeness of the behavior. So now they're damp and uncomfortable as well, but not traumatized in being so.
It was in the character thing.
Adrian.
Okay. What's the name of the doctor that took over the project?
That is Dr. Nevin.
Nevin, there we go.
Why did I put my character? I need to rearrange how I did this. Yes, Dr. Bram Nevin is the interim head researcher.
Dr. Graham Nevin?
Bram.
Bram, okay. As
Yes.
in like Stoker?
Yes.
Awesome, okay. All right.
And y'all did talk to him earlier, and he's just generally kind of upset at his boss dying and a little overwhelmed with the project.
And I know him from the university, and also they we were told by Maverick to go to talk to him about this. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just looking at this. All right, that's enough. I'm going to turn around. I'm going to stop by somewhere in this building. Nearby, there is a bar with bottles of scotch. I know this not only because I asked for some in the previous episode of this, but also because my character has kind of a sixth sense about these things. So I'm going to reach over and grab some of the good stuff. Which I'm going to say and probably horrify people by saying Jim thinks that's probably Glenfiddich. But unfortunately, Jim is not as practiced as Dr. Orbach is in these matters. So he's not sure if that's correct or not. Anyway.
That might be fortunate. I'm not sure if Dr. Orbach has a pickled liver or not.
Probably not. Yes, he's well aware of what he's doing to himself. But he's going to grab it. He's going to go head for. He last saw Dr. Niven at, I think, brooding at a table, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
I'm going to march out to find him. And the next step will happen if I see it. This will turn into an attack, but at first I just need to get the pieces in place.
All right.
Is he out there?
Yeah.
Or?
Yep. Sitting outside, kind of off to himself. He's looking nervous. Like he's looking afraid. His hands are shaking. His eyes are on you as soon as he sees you, like hard charging across the yard.
I just come out and I produce 2 glasses. I come forward. Nevin, we got work to do. I set the glasses down. I pour the 2 glasses. This is the stuff that we need to steel ourselves real quick because I think you have an idea what's happening here. I set it down. I take a shot or something, and I'm like, listen, this thing has already killed 2 people tonight, and it's already splashed a couple of my friends.
What's worse?
And we need to get this taken care of. It is coming after us. And according to Maverick, you're the fellow to talk to help us figure this out. So I need you to come with me now, so that you can see where this is going on, and we can figure this out. You gonna come with me?
Yup.
All right.
I mean, we don't know what it is.
Well, now's an excellent time to figure it out. And I pick up the bottle and I grab him by the shoulder, and I'm going to steer him with me toward the kitchen and the basement.
He lets himself be manhandled, and he's terrified, right? He's sweating. As you're walking, he says, I could be next,
Any of us could.
No, not any of us. I could be next.
It wants you specifically?
Well, I mean, you know, it got her.
I see.
Got,
So it's coming after the people it knows.
usually, I mean, if you drop a wad of cash on the table to fund the project, you might get yourself on the list, but...
All right. Well, I just want to at least come with me as far as the kitchen so you can see what's happened so far and we can figure this out. All right. So I'm going to bring Nevin in. I'm going to explain to him what I know thus far of what's happened medically. I'm going to lean on Stacy a little bit for more scientific information, and as we talk this over. And the attack I'm making here is I'm using my quirk of Connoisseur of Spirits to get us through this, and I would like to use field work that I have created in this scene by grabbing him as kind of an asset for this, as an edge. And this is a mind attack.
All right, so you are wanting to suss out. Are you wanting to figure out what the character is, or what the creature is, or where it is, or how to detect it, or what?
I guess, yeah, the thing that we're trying to figure out is, I guess that the important, the first step in that chain is going to have to be what it is, because that's kind of going to be the deal here. I mean, how to stop it ultimately is what we're really wanting to get at, but at the same time, that's what Adrian wants. But so if we can get, how to stop it's going to be the primary question. But if we can't get at that, then what is it? I think is going to be the next bit, and then where is it? It's going to be the one after that if we can't get either of those two.
Okay. So how to stop it?
Yeah.
So what is your number? What are you?
I'm coming at this. It's a mind attack, so it's a 6. It's boosted with my quirk.
Don't think. I think this is against wits, and I don't think I can block that. All right. So, so Nevin takes a look at sort of the chemistry stuff you've gotten, and sort of the patterns of behavior where you've seen it pull away, where you've seen it kind of just let something be collected, and he says, when we dispose of this stuff, if we want to cut our costs on disposal of the drug, chemical costs of specialized waste, we can toss in a few other chemicals, breaks it down, makes it less damaging. We could flood the water system here with those chemicals and then follow it up later with something to make that inert. Can't really have people drinking the remnants of hydrogen peroxide. We can't really determine if it's the right volume to perfectly balance out. That could do it, in which case the drug wouldn't exist in the system, and that's one guess. But you've got research. All of our labs are dealing in this, so we should have better containment than to have this stuff flowing through the water system, of course. But this project, we installed this in we have a lot of research subjects.
How did it get here? Do you know?
Well, the Belmont kid isn't the best. We have to keep her on the project.
Yeah, I can tell you
Because
that. Yeah.
parents, money.
Yeah.
But she's not great with safety
Yeah,
standards.
she had trouble telling the difference between a radius and an ulna, if I recall correctly.
Yep. So please don't bring home vials of things to be studied, or to have show and tell with your parents is a little beyond her skill set.
All right, so you don't think it's likely to get out into the greater water supply anywhere then, beyond just this plantation? That's what I'm mostly
Probably
worried
not.
about.
Maybe the Van Horns, if if that decision was made, if someone took something out there. But I don't. The drug is not just wandering the the city. We've when we installed devices in people's homes, they were both for intake and outflow. We're doing filtering, so it shouldn't be getting to the system, the city water.
Yeah, that's the main thing is we don't want either this or the cure to get out into the city water because last thing we want is to end up saving a few people by killing a bunch more. Yeah.
Yes, but we haven't. So none of the research subjects that died of this, died of desiccation. They died of accidents, other things. It's research. It's tough sometimes. Concentrations get a little off, find some side effects, various other pre-existing conditions. You know how people don't report things that they have because they're like, oh, I'll make a little bit of money, so I'll join your research project and not tell you I have asthma or, diabetes.
So you feel as if it's these people's fault that
If they had
they died of
reported
these accidents.
if they had reported their conditions accurately. I mean, I don't blame some homeless person for not knowing they have heart arrhythmia, but it would have been nice for apparently them as well if they had told us, look, this is not a moral problem here. We're not going to have, you sound like you're judging me. We're not doing this. I'm telling you.
You may do as you like, and I shall do the same, sir.
Research subjects didn't die like this. Like she did, or my boss did, or I might. Hey!
Well, accidents do happen, don't they?
I'm not saying that Anna Belmont died of an accident. I wouldn't be here looking at your chemistry setup here if that hadn't been the case.
Perhaps
But
she failed to report something then.
she wasn't a research subject. So actually, yeah, I guess technically she did fail to report something. But I think we have a situation in this house and maybe at the labs. Maybe at the Van Horn's houses. So there's that. All right, so you did an attack with an edge that revealed a lot, but that you could at least successfully flush these sort of well-based homes, because this is probably not on city water, and you could, if you wanted to, put these at the homes of the research subjects. All right. Agatha.
How many boxes are left?
1.
All right.
That's a contrast problem. I have a very pale thing behind me, so if my finger is up, it's not very visible.
Well, then it is a good thing that I came properly prepared. And she takes a little delicate silver pocket watch from a pocket and checks it. Is there a telephone? No, actually,
There's a telephone.
That's right. This is 1971.
There are lots of telephones.
She reaches into her handbag and takes out a radio, like a walkie-talkie radio that's about as big as the entire inside of the handbag,
Mm-hmm.
like extends the antenna out of it. And she says, William, darling, she says, I took the liberty of communicating with the Environmental Protection Agency, Nixon's little project, assuming that there would be a situation like this.
Can we talk about how shitty 1971 was? OSHA just getting started. Sorry, carry on.
Well, I think we're being quite progressive. Thank you very much. It's about time we've got an agency in charge of this sort of thing. What chemical was it, Miss Johnson, that we'll want to place in the water?
And she describes whatever is required.
She recites that chemical with the elocution of a teacher, and says, apparently they have poor safety practices at this place, the Van Horn estate, and at the college labs. So you may wish to be treating the water at each place. So I'm always prepared. So I did that in advance, gaining a radio to the EPA as a resource.
Just down the street, you know.
Well, no, I mean they're on site. They're like wherever the well access layout, like where the pump is for the well, they're probably like there with a van or something.
Okay.
And I will use time management, I guess. Well prepared is about the right time, and that's a charm attack of 6 because the people that I know with an edge. I don't know what that's against.
Me
It's
neither.
Putting chemicals in the supply. Probably vigor.
Probably vigor.
Yes.
So it is going to boost. So it is going to just dumping jugs of chemicals down in the well. It's great. So there's time for this stuff to flow through the system, even if they go and turn on all the showers and flush all the toilets. And they are creature.
I had to look up when the EPA was founded.
Really?
It was a year ago.
They're just finding their space. Okay, so the creature
Meanwhile, going around
leverages
telling everyone not to drink the water.
yeah.
We've got to figure it out. Okay.
Decides to hide. So it hides and gets out of the water system. And so it boosts and blocks that. But I believe it now has wear on vigor.
Well, that should take care of it. Our work here is done.
All right. Stacy. So you got 1 box left. Vigor is down by 1. The main flow of the water system is in the process of purging of this drug. You've got a shitty research head here. You've got cops that have not hassled you particularly, but have like kind of, let's carry the body out. They've been through there, but Belmont has kind of been like, just leave them alone.
I figure also probably if Anna's still here, she's probably to help helping corral them somewhat.
Anna's in a dustpan, right?
No, Anne.
Yeah, sorry, the Ann Kessel from last session.
Oh. Sorry.
Oh my god!
It's a very important vowel to make sure there's. It's only one vowel away from. Only one vowel difference between dust and the next cop. You have to be very careful.
You have killed the narrator. Sorry.
No.
Dustpan. Jesus.
Bless her heart.
We did sort of just ignore Anne's presence. We just,
I figure when the cops showed up.
I imagine she's like corralling the cops and trying to keep them out of our hair and things like that.
Yeah.
Very competently so. Yes.
Boy, this is hard to decide what to do. So our goal was to like identify the thing that was killing people.
It was to stop the killings and bring whoever is responsible to justice.
And the suspect is trying to get away.
So I can tell you that with the main adversary down, that the research project is going to stop. It is not going to continue the way it has been, which doesn't necessarily ensure justice, but we can.
Well, yeah. But we're purging, and the EPA is purging. So I consider like the killings are probably done.
Is there
from the water side of things, at least?
So if this stuff is able to travel in water, what about the water that's still sitting around in pools in the basement and such? Is that something we have to be worried about, Miss Johnson?
Yes, most assuredly. Seeing as that's where we actually found our sample of it to begin with. But I'm trying to think about the bringing to justice part of things, because his argument was that it was a mistake, like it was a slip in security. But this seems much more pointed. Like if it was a slip in security, why would it be just the people that were in charge of the project that were dying? It seems like a very targeted attack against the project. So it's almost like we had the project trying to cover their own backsides. Sorry, I'm rambling. I'm almost done.
This is good stuff.
This is good.
So we have the project is like trying to cover their backsides. We know that they're experimenting essentially on the downtrodden, on minorities and people of lower socioeconomic status, people who they can kind of get their hands on and that people aren't going to worry about given the time period as much. And so they're trying to cover their own butts with that. And so Stacy thinks that there's another person at play that's targeting the project and trying to get it shut down, and that's why the killings are happening. She doesn't, I don't know if she buys this argument that it was like the daughter like brought something home and like was screwing around and messed up. Like, then why would it be these people that died and not like random party goers? Statistics there don't play out. It's greater than by chance of these heads of the project dying, like important people.
Yeah, Nevin's worried because like it's as though it knows them. I think
perhaps with his excellent lab safety skills, this researcher would be able to assist you in doing the final cleanup.
We gotta make sure we got this thing contained, especially if it can maybe move around.
But that's just not what she wants to worry about right now. She wants to figure out why it's here to begin with.
Okay.
Like, it's getting cleaned up. That'll happen eventually. But why was it even in the house to begin with?
Well,
Like,
that'll prevent it from happening again, probably, if we can figure out who that is.
Do you know how someone could be controlling this thing?
she would like to go find some member of the staff,
Mm-hmm. Of the university staff or the house staff?
of the house staff,
Okay. Sure.
and ask them. Like, she's basically going to go up and she's going to be like, "Excuse me, I'm sure this is very overwhelming."
Oh, ma'am, we're used to complicated things happening. How can I help you? This is Delia, who's been around.
Been around.
Yeah.
She's going to say, a few of us have figured out that there's something in the water supply here at this home that's been causing some of these problems. She's gonna say, and I was just curious if you had seen anyone who normally doesn't go kind of in and out of the basement messing around.
She says, not generally, ma'am. We don't go down there much at all. It's pretty gross down there. It's not great. So we try to keep all of our storage up here, except for the wine and the bourbons and such.
Scotches.
But
and
the scotches and the cognacs. Yes, this family likes to drink a lot. You can see they need it. But I don't think anyone has been down there to mess with anything. Are you looking for something in particular, or?
She's just going to explain. Like, there's an agent in the water, and I'm just trying to see if there's anyone who might have accidentally or on purpose been around a water source for the house that could have put this here.
I mean, we clean up messes often. So I don't know the details of this research project really beyond, what I hear just being around. But when Hannah brought home the samples, or when she's talked about the project with their parents, she said, that this could really help. This could really help people feel better about their lives, whatever their lives were like. Like just helping them feel better. And so I don't know, like she seems like she's the sort to want to feel better about her life, even though she's got all this. I shouldn't. My apologies. I'm sorry. Please don't tell. I don't know that there was any particular. There's not been anyone here to work on the house. There's not been any research people here other than her. But the results from the research, she's pretty excited about them. And the Belmonts, they're not getting a return on investment yet, as they say, but they were pretty confident that it was gonna pan out for them.
Where is Miss Belmont at the moment, dear?
Probably outside. She's this kind of party is like a friend gathering for her. It's like a good weekend party.
Was she the one Agatha was yelling at when she came in?
Actually,
No, I think I was yelling at the cops when I came in.
oh, that's right.
Oh, okay, all right. You said something like your parents, and so that was the thing.
Oh yeah. I was talking about good
Oh yeah.
Officer James. I knew his father.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's probably outside, but no one wants to go down in the basement, unless it's for the booze. Which, to be fair, Mr. and Ms. Belmont did do so every once in a while, but it seems unlikely they'd have wanted to do that to themselves.
So I think Stacy is kind of displeased about the lack of safety protocols apparently around this research project.
In abundance.
Like an abundance of issues.
Yeah.
And so she wants to kind of provide this information to the police. Is the idea that they would know, and with the idea of trying to bring everyone to justice, the idea she wants to make sure that the police have as much information as they have from a kind of scientific point of view.
Okay.
And so she's just going to find kind of the nearest police officer and try and get statistically likely his attention.
All right. So he'll say, you'll find a sort of a low-level cop who's like, well, that sounds very scientific. Does the university know about this? Is this
she says, well, the research project is at the university, but it behooves the university to not report certain things. So whether they know or not is unknown. They might know, and they would just not tell us.
Well, okay, I don't know if there are, there have to be laws about that, right? Like you can't just put chemicals in things. Yeah, I'll report that up.
Would you like the number of my friend at the Environmental Protection Agency?
Oh, I don't deal with agencies, ma'am. Just cops, just police officers.
Perhaps your superior would like that number then?
Or my boss's boss, ma'am.
I'll jot it down and you can pass it along with your report.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. All right, so let's get Stacy into making an attack. Unfortunately for you, the only thing to attack is our water creature.
Yeah, so I think at this point she'll just go downstairs and try and clean everything up. Maybe would that work?
I think so. So yeah,
I was almost kind of thinking like providing the police with all of the information might be, I don't know.
Let's see if we. So the cop. So the cop calls his boss over, who's like trying to finagle the Belmonts, and like the Belmonts are like Maverick is like, my poor wife, and the cop boss is like, well, yep. This is the pits. And so he's a little grateful to be pulled away, and he comes over and he says, he said that there are safety problems at the university. Is that correct? And that the EPA might be involved. We could take a look at this. So let's.
So I wonder if maybe like it's kind of like a mind or a wits attack of how well Stacy can provide the required information to the authorities.
Yeah, let's do
something.
it that way. It needs to be actionable enough that non-scientists can like
Yeah, she has to be
raid
able
a
to
lab.
yeah.
But technical enough that they aren't just like
Causing
shooting,
more problems.
breaking shit. Yeah, let's break all the glassware holding the water and pour it into the drains.
No.
All right, so what is that number?
So she would use probably like her maybe academia skill.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she's in a teaching environment. Has to train trainees all the time, so having to explain things at a approachable level is hopefully something she's good at, although my experience with academia says that's not always true, but we're going to say that Stacy is a good academic.
This doesn't have to be an efficient cleanup process. It just needs to be a cleanup process.
Function. And then maybe could she use trying to do it well.
You don't need an edge.
Okay, so let's just do her academia skill.
Okay.
And then it would be a mind or a wits?
That'd be a mind against wits, yes. So that
okay, so it's a 4.
It's a 4. And it's not the wittiest creature.
I will say I almost wanted Stacy to do it as a charm attack against the creature, just so she could use diffuse against it. But I will.
It was you.
Yeah, pointing at the water beast. No, sorry. Go ahead.
She pulls up like an NMR picture, and she's like, "That's peak."
Wow, that's an acronym I haven't heard in 11 years. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. Good to provide the science flavoring on top of it.
Okay, so yeah, you're able to kind of like piece this into essentially a report, right? That's like, here's a combination of the technical details that they can work with the EPA with on if anyone competent is working at the EPA. And, you know, you've got the stuff about the EPA doing the flushing anyway. And you've got information on who's involved, who's funding, exactly, you know that little Miss Belmont brought it all here. And sort of some of the shenanigans going on. That dog is just the cutest. Oh my God. Yeah, and they take it. They've got phone numbers for EPA, and they say, we think this is enough. We think we can, it's the fact that stuff is getting out of the lab is enough that we can maybe bring at least some of the direct people to justice, and that some of this project at least won't continue on the same way it's been, at least. Clearly something is terribly wrong with this drug if it can do this. So that has to stop. So
she's like, yes, I don't think they should be randomly inserting this into people's homes, because clearly the wrong concentration or something.
Yeah. Yep.
Kills people.
Right. So, thank you, ma'am. And at this point, like, a coroner is coming in to like take out the dust. They got 2 bodies at this point. So yeah, we will drop out of rounds. So we have in cups. Oh my God, Greg. In Twitch chat, Put the water monster in cuffs and haul it away, and Greg saying cups.
Agatha's just blotting at her dress with dish towels.
It's like a big water jug painted like a police van, basically. That would be good.
So, do you all want this exposed to the public?
Yes.
One vote for yes?
Yes.
No.
Being a day one OSHA fan, Stacy is all about
Ruin them.
transparency of academic research BS.
Honestly, Adrian doesn't care. As long as the monster's stopped, so he's okay with it being exposed. But yeah.
The two of you, I think, take charge of both the social component, perhaps, of the trash that is upper crust Southern society at that point in this town, and the awful conditions at the university that permitted this sort of perpetual safety problem to continue on. Obviously well known that this was happening, that devices were installed and the drug was distributed. The Misters Belmont and Van Horn don't go to jail because society still exists, but
Hefty fine. Hefty fine for the rich folks.
Let them kill a few more.
Yeah. But they are definitely they've lost a lot of their image as philanthropists. They're no longer seen by society publicly as sort of being, this is the new Southern. This is the new Southern, right? The kind, caring Southern person. Instead, you definitely have like, these are the kinds of people who would put us back in chains, right? Financially or whatever. And so they're disgraced. I mean, that they still have friends, right? Like society still exists.
Mansions.
And mansions, right? Although, will they ever drink water from a tap again?
That's a good question.
When did Brita get started? Because they could make a killing in this town.
Stacy leaves the university to go work on a startup company, soon to be named Brita.
Yes.
So there's a sort of justice served, right? Like these people are kind of yanked from their pedestals, ousted, yes. And I think perhaps maybe most importantly, it's made public, right? So you kind of, it's, even if they're still grinning and putting a face on it because you grit your teeth and you get through it, it's at least known that these people did this, and it's known that this university participated in this research. And maybe the university plays it as, we just had some safety violations, and that we can call those ethical violations, right? Like maybe they can weasel out of and look at who our target demographic was. But at least the safety stuff comes up and is exposed. But I mean, those researchers are tarnished in much the same way that several prominent, I would say, American Southern research projects were tarnished between the 40s and the 70s, I think. Let's see. Belmont's. What else happens to these people? What else does justice mean to y'all?
I'd like to see a bunch of people get fired, but that's just me.
That can happen for sure, right? Like Nevin was clearly, like as much as Nevin was nervous about having that position, he was also clearly ready to keep his ass alive, right? Yeah. And to perpetuate the project. He wasn't like, we should stop doing this work. He was like, we should do this in a way that doesn't get me killed.
I think the university paying for, or actually the Belmonts and the Van Horns paying for the folks who, had accidents due to their failure to report.
Yeah, I'd like to get some good old-fashioned American lawsuits happening.
Yes.
You know, like the whether or not the people who died were because they didn't disclose or because something went wrong, I would like to think that since this project has become so thoroughly disgraced, either way, they would probably win a lawsuit against the organizers of said project to get some reparations.
Y'all.
Maybe a future Wikipedia article called EPA versus Belmont.
Yes.
Guess what year the Southern Poverty Law Center came into being?
71?
1971.
Ah.
How convenient. So ACLU existed, SPLC existed. So yeah, I mean, it seems reasonable this could become the sort of thing that's like, hey, how many of these things are going on? How many institutions are doing this kind of research and getting away with it because poverty is in the state? And so, yeah, let's lawsuit this up. And
yeah, and I think it's like 74 where the big new, like, what is it? Crap. The something act happens.
for, like human research related?
Yeah, it's like to protect like rights of humans.
Ah. So this can help kick that sort of work off.
Oh.
And
Yes, we're in my headcanon. I knew that there's a reason that I knew this. In my headcanon, in 1974, a report comes out about biomedical and behavioral research involving human subjects that changes the way that we do human subjects research now. It happens to be called the Belmont Report.
it did come out in 1974. Holy shit.
So the Belmont Report comes out, and it is thus titled the Belmont Report because of the very famous actions that happened at Belmont University.
I swear to God, my planning was not that intricate. I picked
It's
Belmont because
also-
it's a very southern
that is
ass
awesome.
name.
Oh my
I'll
God.
also point out that there's a law called the Federal Water Pollution Control Act Amendments of 1972, also known as the Clean Water Act.
You know, I feel like this just,
Well done.
this just worked.
I knew I looked this up. I looked up the Belmont Report last time. I was like, wait, wasn't that report called the Belmont Report? I knew that last time, and I was really excited about it, and I forgot in the interim.
Written by the National Commission for the Protection of Human Subjects of Biomedical and Behavioral Research, which a drug that helps people feel better about their life situation, whatever it happens to be. Holy shit, y'all.
And
This
Safe
gel
Drinking
together.
Water Act is 1974.
Excellent. Excellent. No, you cannot go install devices in people's water systems. Jesus Christ. What the hell's wrong with you? So, is there anything else that we kind of want to do to kind of bring this to resolution?
I think maybe we could just narrate what happens to each of us after the
Yeah.
fact.
I like it. Do you want to start?
Sure. I think Stacy has always lived in this town, and she's always wanted to work at the university because it gave her like a second shot going to university there. But she has become even more disillusioned than she already was with this Southern life, and and like I think she goes out and maybe decides to, or maybe because of the press around this, and she does a lot of interviews and she's on TV a lot, she ends up working for one of these government agencies in like an advocacy position.
Awesome.
and leaves the university, especially she's not sure if she's going to take the job, but when she sees that the university is kind of washing their hands of it and saying like, oh, this is, it's that project, it's their problem, she's like, I'm done with this.
Yeah.
Agatha retires at in 1992.
Shit.
having outlived all members of the Belmont and Van Horn clans.
You teach until your dying day. Oh no, you retired in 92.
She retired in 92.
Did not die in 92.
I mean, she didn't last long after that. Not enough to do. She subbed some, but.
All right, Adrian.
I think Adrian gets an offer from a competing university after all of this comes out to chair their medical learning department. And basically actually finally sets things up in a way that he is happy with, so that people
I'd like the first medical ethics program, degree program or something.
Yeah, something along those lines, I think, is what happens, and so that they actually can teach this stuff with an idea of ethics first, and students who deserve to pass, who actually do the work to pass, are the ones who pass.
Excellent. I love it.
And he receives the Grace family bourbon collection in her will.
Excellent.
Nice.
His power source. Excellent.
Connoisseur of spirits. All right.
Yeah. I really appreciated that, Jim. I really appreciated the I feel like that was like the Rosette equivalent of like min-maxing.
Yeah.
Like
happens. You see, I've been playing with these folks for a while, so I know how I have picked up one or two things. Yeah, that's what it's about. Well, I'll get into that in the after. But
yeah, I think that is closing. I mean, y'all have flourished. Y'all have brought justice, and the water monster is, ostensibly gone.
Or is it?
Controlled.
Controlled, yes. No longer has a reason to kill, if nothing else.
So I think that leads well into our closing. So with Rosette, one thing that we try to do in our home game, and that there are guides for in the book, are sort of ways to frame the game and frame the meeting so that there's a good transition from the game world to the real world, and to keep things healthy. So I think we just discussed where the story goes from here. So does anyone want to offer kudos to folks that took part in the game?
First off, I want to thank Melissa for having had planned this so masterfully that it turns out that it in fact did happen, apparently. But furthermore, I also want to offer kudos to Kelly for I just loved the way that you played your character and how well that she handled everything. It was very cool, and I really enjoyed it and the interactions.
It was wonderful.
Thanks to Jim for running the channel, and I hope that all you folks viewing recognize that he takes like an hour before every single stream to prep and make sure everyone knows what they're doing with the technology and stuff like that.
Yes. God, kudos also to Jim. Production quality, preparation, everything for this has been delightful. I also kudos to Kelly for just diving into a new system, rolling with it, like an excellent, like, the thing I love is a fuck it, make it work. Like let's pull this skill in, let's pull this quirk in, like let's subvert this, let's leverage this. It was wonderful playing with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, and Greg, kudos to you for one, diving into part 2, for adopting a new character on the fly, like literally on the fly. I think we decided 15 minutes before that it was going to be this character. And for bringing very strong RP in with that, and just like going right on toe to toe with Anna Belmont. with the most cutting dialogue.
Yes. So my first kudos was going to go to Gregory and Melissa for that whole thing. I'm a Chicago girl who went to grad school in Georgia. So like you become like, from an outsider's perspective, you're just so like aware, like this is not how other people talk. And it was like, the authenticity was just spot on. I loved it. It was like going to church in Georgia. Like,
yeah, really, it is.
All about it. And also to Jim, I have to shout out for like all the like art related to this game, all the backdrops, all the advertising stuff. I loved it. It very much evoked the tone and the feeling, and in a very creative, kind of not super direct way, which I really love in all of that. Like you got a really good gist of the setting without it being like it's super obvious, and so I loved it. I was all about
Thank
it.
You.
And just the way you did that whole 3-part setup to make it happen, I really respect the commitment and the forethought, because I know I was definitely much more moving on the fly, just like, okay, let's look at this and see what happens. But like the idea that you were able to pull all those pieces together and it just like bloomed.
Well, that's really one of the, and I don't know if I'm hitting on a later item or not, but that's one of the things that I really love about Rosette Diceless is that basically, unlike a lot of games where a GM will plan a specific way of dealing with problems, which I will say that's, I'm not saying that's a lot of GMs nowadays are following the play to see what happens thing, and that is awesome that they are doing that. But I think mechanically, Rosette very specifically reinforces the idea that the solution to the problem is whatever it is the players do. Mm-hmm. That is actually, and so it's not a question of, if a GM sets up a trap, this is the only way out of the trap. It's or it has to be related to a thing that the players would need to work on as long as they get in the vicinity. It's more really whatever it is. If the attack succeeds when it's your turn in a conflict, then that is what happened, and that progressed the plot, and so that's why I was able to do that pretty much, to just go in and just look at things on my sheet and say, okay, I just need to figure out how to make an attack with these things and make it make sense.
It definitely changes how you plan things in Rosette Diceless. Because I think if I were doing something in Dungeons and Dragons, I would more tightly script the flow, the arc, and exactly how it needs to resolve, and kind of like point people to the puzzle. Here's the puzzle. And instead, you can do that in Rosette Diceless if you want to. You can do whatever you want in Rosette Diceless. But I have found more success if I set up a situation with multiple avenues, not just sandboxing, but just like here are some clear approaches, and some tangle of those are going to get y'all through this, or not, and you could fail, and that could be interesting too. It will definitely be interesting, but yeah.
So does anyone want to ask for advice on their play or on stuff they did during this session?
I am going to say no. I don't think that I am in an emotional place right now where advice is going to hit how I would like it to hit.
Excellent. That's one reason why asking for advice is better than just offering it to people.
Yes.
If there's anything anyone has recommendations, either anyone watching or anyone currently on the stream who has any thoughts about how to better streamline this whole process and as far as making it work. I always welcome that. As far as playing in this game, I think I felt pretty good about most of what I ended up with. I mean, mostly the main thing that I worry about, and that's another thing I like about this system, is that the main thing that I often worry about is that I try not to do too much. I don't want to like bogart the narrative, and it's because I am a theater person, and I will do that if I allow myself to run unchecked.
That's totally something that I worry about too.
Well, and so the thing again about the way the system reinforces it is everybody takes turns. So that's it's, and even though people can freely interact during those turns and still roleplay their characters and what have you, it's really you have again mechanically reinforced. It's this person's turn. They're going to actually come up with the thing that gets the next step going. So that's another thing that I like about it. So I'm not too worried about having done that this time. I guess the only thing I am worried about is there was a lot of stuff on my character sheet that I did not make use of. And so I'm kind of curious because, for example, I have a thing in here where it's like if I do harm medically, that I get I get a boosted attack if I'm actually using my medical knowledge to hurt someone or something. And it's there. I've got innocuous, boosted to avoid notice. Almost used it, didn't use it. Extra coordinated, perfect memory, which I didn't use that. Just remembering a fact. And so I'm just wondering if there is something that I should have been looking at more when I was looking this character over or trying to figure out and coming up with solutions. I think I was just more flowing from the role play. I think.
I think for a one-shot scenario, I was compelled to offer all the options to like do a full character build, but y'all were certainly not compelled to use everything on the sheet. For one thing, it was an easy conflict. As opposed to, so Rosette Diceless has easy, medium, and hard, and that changes the number of stress boxes available on the adversary, and it also changes the number of skills that they have. So if it had been a hard conflict for 3 players, it would have been 12 boxes instead of 6, and there would have been, I think, instead of 5 skills, it would have been 10. Like everything, the adversary has a lot more they can spend to do some damage, and so I think in an easy scenario, in a one-shot, quote unquote one-shot, single conflict, there's only so much you can really throw at the problem. But I think you did a great job of pulling in things like you said, pulling in RP stuff. I thought it was great.
And we'll often do a closing to the session to somehow kind of close the magic circle and step back into the real world. And I believe that there is a tradition that Jim has for signing off these sorts of streams.
Yes.
So I will return the talking stick to him.
All right. Yes, unfortunately, I do not have a virtual candle to extinguish, but it is very much appreciated. That's going to be it. We're going to actually manage somehow. We started close We started close to on time. As for an RPG stream for me, that's rare. I think I managed it once with the Cyphercast last month, but that's as close as I have gotten before too. We're ending early, and that's also amazing. So I'm very pleased about that. Delighted for this whole thing. I want to thank everyone for coming out and playing, and Melissa for running. So we're gonna go around and just ask everyone if they have any final thoughts they want to give. They feel free to give them, but then also tell us where we can find you online and what have you. And if you've got anything to plug, feel free to plug said thing. And I think I'm going to go reverse order, so I'm going to start with Melissa.
It's me. So I'm Melissa Avery Weir, co-founder of Future Proof Games. My Twitter is, I think, probably over there. I don't know how things look, maybe reversed. at Play Futureproof or futureproofgames.com. We did this role-playing system. We also do video games more traditionally. But I spend my time over on Mastodon instead of on Twitter because it's a cooler place. So feel free to find me, Melissa Avery Weir, over there. I posted a link to the first session of this in chat. It's over on YouTube. It's good video. We did a good job. And I think that might be it for me. Thank you all.
All right, thanks so much. Thanks so much for coming and running this thing. And Kelly, same question. And if you have any final thoughts, feel free to give them. And where can folks find you?
Final thoughts. I do want to say, like, the thing I like about this system is that I'm a fairly new I'm a new role player. Like, I only started back in like April. And so I feel like this system gives me a lot more to work with, getting to know my character as a person. Whereas other systems are really focused, the traits that you get are all very physical in nature. Even things like sleight of hand or survival are all very physical related skill sets. There's not as many mental related skill sets, like even things like intelligence and constitution are very kind of straightforward. There's not a lot of things that connect to like how your character handles things. So like seeing on my character sheet, like I'm not empathetic. I don't know when people are lying. I don't, that's not something that my character's skill set is. Adds a lot of flavor into helping me role play that character, especially for someone new. It gives me a lot more to work with than the big black box that a lot of other systems give you, which I see as, like a new player, I see that as a big strength. Anyway, I'm Elaine on Twitter. I believe that's below. I pretty much exclusively function on Twitter. I don't really stream myself. I just like magically appear on other channels and other places very like haphazardly. However, I do have one consistent game this season, Tuesday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern on Scraticus, which is the goal of Scraticus and his community is an inclusive D&D community or TTRPG community. He does a lot of D&D, but this season he's including Cypher System and all sorts of other system, Ryutama and all sorts of other systems. I, however, play in a D&D game, my first TTRPG love. Tuesday nights we play Curse of Strahd, and it's super spooky and super funny, and I love that cast because they're so funny that we can get creepier. It gives us permission to kind of get really creepy when everybody's just kind of like, but yeah, and if you have any interest in seeing me in other places when I do magically appear, I try to be very active in posting when I'm where doing what on Twitter.
Excellent.
Also, me and my two best friends in real life have recently relaunched our cosplay collective between the three of us. You can find that at Queens Nerdcraft on Twitter or at Queens of Nerdcraft on Instagram.
Excellent. I strongly urge that folks check all of those things out. Kelly is a delight to play with or to watch playing. And so just thank you so much for coming. This has been awesome. And finally, Gregory, same questions.
I'm Gregory Avery Weir. I think that stuff about the system has been pretty much summed up. I'm the other half of Futureproof Games. I have a few podcasts that I'm a part of. I'm part of the Futureproof podcast, which you can subscribe to at Futureproof Games. That's got monthly news about what we're up to. I am part of Audacious Compassion, which is a podcast dedicated to practicing compassion and empathy in everyday situations. And I do an intermittent show called Ludus Novus that explores the art of interaction, video games and tabletop games, and sort of the theory of that sort of thing. I stream sometimes, off and on, at twitch.tv/Gregory Avery Weir. And I hope to run more one-shots of Rosette Diceless. So if anyone out there is interested in having a one-shot run for them, contact us. My Twitter is Gregory Weir, and you can hit us up at info@futureproofgames.com.
Excellent. Yeah, totally. Folks should do that. Totally, because this is I think, a very cool system to have on. Very narrative. It's very good. And what better way than to have the people who created it? So he's good. He's very good. And I'm glad we finally got to be on a stream together. So thank you for coming and filling in for that. That is awesome.
Thank you for having me.
So as for me, I'm Jim Ryan. This is my channel. It's again, this whole thing has been a delight for me, and I'm very glad we got to we got to conclude it. It's very cool. I feel as though I want to do things with multiple parts more in the future, but we shall see. We shall see how things go. But in the meantime, what's happening? So this week on Tuesday night, I'm going to be back over at Off the Table. On Tuesday nights, I play in their Urban Shadows game, where I play a bedraggled doctor who treats various supernatural creatures, and so that is always fun. We're getting more and more tightly into a web of debt and despair, and it's just glorious. So check that out if you're so inclined. And this week, Thursday, November 1st, we are having the next episode of the Cyphercast. Should be episode 23, and that should be at about, I believe, 8 p.m. Eastern that night. So if you're into the Cypher system, anything Monty Cook Games, come check that out. Friday afternoon, once again, I'm going to be playing video games. I'm actually going to start in on Torment Tides of Numenera, and so folks want to see that, come look at that. Saturday morning, more We Happy Few, as we descend further and further into madness. And that Saturday, and that's November 3rd, finally, we will have the second episode of The Cold Ruins of Last Life. We have been waiting for this for freaking ever, as trying to get schedules to align, and so finally we get to come back and play glorious undead people wandering through these ruins of our former civilization, trying to figure things out and build a better tomorrow. We will. I'm very much looking forward to having Matthias and everyone else back and getting in on the next session of that. So then 1 week from today, that Sunday, we will be starting in on the November one-shots. I'm going to be facilitating Durance, which is by Jason Morningstar, who also wrote Fiasco. That's a game that is about the balance of power. In the default setting is a distant prison planet, basically a distant penal colony, and it's all about it's very very narrative. Each of the players actually has more than one character that they arrange things for and set scenes, and it's very much about the balance of power between the authority and the convicts. And I'm over the course of the month, I'm going to be doing that, using that same system with a number of different settings. I'm going to use the default setting next week, but then in the coming weeks, there's a fantasy setting that we brainstormed up ages ago on an episode of Crucible of Realms that also had to do with a prison colony, and so we're going to use that. And then the last one's going to actually, I think it could also work with two different groups of vampires, so I'm going to try that out as well. Because I'm keen to see how that works. So a lot of that coming up. Also, still have slots open. So I have put a link to signups on this very page. If you decide to look down below, there is a button to click on signups. It'll take you to my website, which is jimyesthatjim.com. And you can go to the game sign-up page, and it'll and I've got everything basically planned out between now and the end of the year, So feel free to go and look at the schedule there. And if you want to sign up for something, I've got a Google form for each one and links to each Google form on that page. So feel free to go and check it out. There's more information and links within each form there and on that page itself. So feel free to go and check it out if you would like to come and play on Channel Other Doc. In the meantime, I am Other Doc on both Twitch and Twitter, OTHERDOC. Again, my website is jimyesthatjim.com. Thank you so much for coming and watching as we dived into this Southern Gothic mystery. I very much appreciated it. It was glorious, and I think that is going to be it. I don't think I'm going to do a raid this time, as we're not quite as late as we usually are. So not all the same folks are online. So I'm actually gonna get a little time to rest. It's glorious. Thank you, folks, so much for watching. Take care. I will see you all of a sudden.